Hey guys, so it's time for another hot guy video, and I have a whole list of videos I want to make for this series, but I had to pick just one for this video.
WHEEZER! I accept!
So yes, it's Carl WHEEZER from Jimmy Neutron. If you don't know about the show Jimmy Neutron, there's Jimmy, and he is this little sciencey kid, and he makes all kinds of weird inventions. And I did watch this show as a kid, but it wasn't one of those shows I watched all the time, even though I do feel like I saw quite a bit of it, but it's been so long that I forget so much about it. So I was on YouTube watching some clips and being like, oh yeah, this, haha, or like, I've never seen that, just reminiscing and catching up on all the Jimmy Neutron stuff. So Jimmy has a friend named Carl, who is sort of the nerdy friend, but not like smart nerdy, because that's Jimmy. Jimmy's like the smart one. And Carl's more just like the sad slash, I mean, he's not sad. He's usually pretty happy, but he's just like the pitiful friend. The mama's boy who he's got his glasses and his high pants pulled up, and he's not really very smart. He's just kind of a silly, fun character.
You accidentally left $1 in my hand.
Keep it.
Why?
I think you know why.
I don't. Why are you winking at me? Why did you give me $1? My brain hurts.
So I thought because of his personality and his looks, it would be fun to bring him on for this hot guy series. Now I'll bring up the reference image I was using for this because I knew I wanted some kind of pose where you could see his feet without it necessarily being full body, because if it's someone standing up straight head to toe, you have to draw them from far away on a smaller piece of paper. I guess I could go get bigger paper, but I just thought I want some pose that fills the page a lot better. And then I got the idea of a stool, and so I was looking up different pose references because I always use pose reference for all the hot guy videos because I'm not the best at drawing guys. And so this is the picture I found, and at first glance I thought it was great. I actually found a handful of images and I narrowed it down to this one. But then the closer I looked at it, the weirder it got, because the leg that's on the stool, it looks oddly tall and narrow, like it was squished, like photoshopped. And then if you look at the crack between his foot and his butt, it also looks awkward, and there's a little sliver of jean there, like it was improperly photoshopped. And look at the lighting on the underside of the raised thigh. It just doesn't look right. Like, I swear there's just something not right with this. So I ended up changing mine later on because I felt like his upper leg on the part that's lifted on the stool, the upper leg just looked too long, especially since the other leg is being foreshortened, so then it just makes the long leg look extra long. But it got to the point where I didn't want to redraw it all because, one, this pencil doesn't erase very well because it's a colored pencil, and two, it would just be easier to Photoshop it. I actually do that a lot where I see something wrong with my art, but I don't want to redraw it because it's traditional, so I'll scan it and then just move things around in Photoshop, and then I print it off and trace it. Here are some before and afters of the pose. So not only was the leg shortened, but because it's shortened, I had to make him lean forward a little more onto his leg, and I think it was a pretty good fix. I also tweaked the angle of his foot. I wanted him to be mostly clothed in this because I feel like my hot guy drawings have just gone too far on the racy side. I don't want to get demonetized. I mean, I have had hot guy videos get demonetized, but then I appeal it and then it's fine. But I just, I feel like I kept pushing the envelope every time, and I was getting more and more racy, and then like, you know what, this time I'm gonna do one where he's mostly clothed and that'll be it. And so I thought his shirt could just be unbuttoned, and I thought initially it could be unbuttoned so low that you still see his nips, but then I thought that looked kind of weird, so I made it unbuttoned a little less. So it still goes pretty far down, but not all the way. And then he's just wearing his normal pants, because the Carl pants I feel like are so iconic because they're ankle biters. You can see his ankle, and that's why I wanted his foot visible. Well, also so you could see his shoe, because he wears like little businessman attire, and so I thought it'd be cool if you could see the dress shoe and then also see his ankles. So that's why I wanted a pose where you could see his foot. Then for the suspenders, I was kind of torn about them because he doesn't actually normally have the suspenders. If you look up his name, just Google it, you'll see suspenders in a lot of the promotional art, but in the actual series he didn't have suspenders. I don't know if they started including the suspenders at some point, but like when I was looking up compilations on YouTube, no suspenders anywhere. But in the Jimmy Neutron movie, he has suspenders. So I don't know what the deal was with that, because also even in the early episodes, his pants sort of curve upwards Like they're kind of like dip in the middle but go up where the suspenders would be clipped on, where they're pulling the pants, but there's no suspenders, but the pants are being held up as if there were suspenders. And then in later episodes, his pants were just straight across without the dip. So I don't know if they just got rid of the suspenders kind of last minute or something. I don't know. But they were there for the Jimmy Neutron movie, maybe even in later episodes. Like I said, I'm not caught up to date on all the Jimmy Neutron stuff that came out, so I don't know. It's been a long time. So now for the hair and face. I had to keep the iconic slanted brows, the sad kind of looking brows, and obviously I had to keep the glasses, and I did try to make his nose a little round since Carl's nose is pretty round. And then for the hair, I wasn't sure initially what I wanted to do because Carl only has hair on the very top of his head. It's almost like the sides are shaved, and they're just like these bulbs for his hair, and it makes me think like it could be curly hair, even though it's just like a chunk. But I interpreted that as being him having most of his hair on the top of his head. The sides would be a little more shaved and it would be curly and coming down on his forehead kind of too. Also, I made his eyes blue since he is a redhead, even though in the show his eyes are just black dots. And then of course I had to include his freckles as well. It's hard because it's not as cartoony as the show, but I still wanted to capture the features of the character in the show. So like, for example, the nose, I was trying to make it round, but I don't want to be like this huge round thing like in the cartoon because that doesn't suit the style that I do for these videos. So it's sometimes a struggle finding the balance, making it actually look like the character. For the skin, I went with a more yellowish orangey tone because I thought that would match his other colors. Like his shirt has yellowish pinkish tones and then his hair is orange, so I figured doing something like that would look the best. The shading got a little weird right where the shirt buttons up underneath his pecs. It's kind of like just too much darkness. It looks a little awkward, but I couldn't go back and lighten it because there's only so much lightening you can do with Copic markers. You can take a light color and scrub over a dark one and it'll lift a little bit, but it's gonna start to have a weird texture to it and it just won't lighten all that much, so there was not much I could do. Sometimes for teeny tiny areas, I will color in gel pen and then try to color on top of the gel pen and hopefully it looks a little seamless. It works sometimes, but if you look up close, you can always tell. For the stripes on the shirt, I kind of messed them up on the first side I did. Well, it was really confusing in the shoulder area trying to figure out how the pattern would lay because his stripes are vertical, and even on his sleeves, if his arms are at his sides, the stripes are vertical. But he has his arm lifted, and so I had to have the transition from vertical to horizontal stripes, so that looks a little bit weird. But where I really messed it up is the area where it's buttoned and then splits open, because I was thinking of it as being sort of like the neck of a shirt where the stripes just go right up to the neck. But that wasn't the neck of the shirt, that's the side of the shirt, and so the stripes should curve alongside the area where the rest of the buttons would be. So I remembered that when I was coloring the other side, but the first side I colored, I screwed up the stripes in that spot. The one weird thing about Carl's shirt color is the light stripes do look a lot like his skin color. So it's weird. I mean, it's good in a sense because it matches, but it matches too much. It's almost like you're seeing through his shirt. Also, for the suspenders, I wasn't sure if they would sag as he's leaning forward because suspenders are elastic, and so I'm not sure how tight they are when you're just standing normally. Like if you bent over to the side a little bit, would the suspender start to sag, or is it tight enough that the elastic keeps it straight against the body? I wasn't sure, so I just opted to keep it straight because I thought it would be elastic. I need to buy some suspenders and do some research. And then when I was Googling suspenders, it's all just people standing up. It's like impossible to find what I want. His pants are pretty easy to color in because it's just like a solid khaki green. I really just used 2 colors for it, and then I tried blending with a lighter color at one point and it just mucked it up, so then I colored back over it to hide it a little bit. Really, the pants were just about getting some wrinkles in there. I feel like that's one of the things I really want to practice is cloth, because I don't add too many wrinkles to my clothing when I draw characters, and I feel like I should add a bit more, and it's something I could practice, I guess. It also depends how cartoony I'm going, but for these hot guy videos, since they're more on the semi-realistic side, I feel like the wrinkles should be a little more realistic, or just like have more wrinkles. I don't know. It's just another thing on the long list of stuff I need to practice. The shoes were also pretty basic to color because it's just brown. Really, the detail was in the outlining. I did not give him socks. I did consider it because you can see his socks in his original character design, but I just thought it was almost a little more fashionable to have him not wearing the socks, because I imagine Carl as being like a little more grown up and one of those people who kind of like a little nerdy looking kid, but then gets hot as they get older and is like, hey ladies. And so he's kind of fashionable, especially since the short pants kind of in style, sort of. They're not quite capris, they're just short pants. They're just ankle biters.
Brown shoes with a black belt? I think not. Try the diner down the block.
And of course I had to add some body hair because he's a man. I just wasn't sure about facial hair. I started doing a little bit of stubble down the sides and then I stopped and erased it because I thought he just looked better with the baby face. I normally do add stubble on the Hawkeye videos, but I thought, hey, this one can be different. Just smooth face Carl. But I did give him the chest hair and the arm hair and a little bit of leg hair. Wait, did I or did I forget the leg hair? Oh, I forgot the leg hair. I was gonna add a little bit of leg hair. Oh well. I mean, I can go add that now, but it's not in the video. For the background, I didn't want to use a color that's on his clothes because then he would kind of blend in. And I thought, why not use blue? Because the only area where there's blue in this is his eyes. And so I made the background solid blue. And then I used a white gel pen to do a pattern in the background. It's kind of like a radar background. At least that's what I think it's supposed to be, because in some promotional images for Jimmy Neutron, there are the characters on these backgrounds. I can't remember if those were also used as interstitials during the show or not. It's so hard to remember that far back. But when you're Googling it, you can see those pictures of the characters with the background with the white lines, and that's what I wanted to kind of replicate, even though my blue is lighter than the blue that was used in the blue background. I just like how that sort of ties it into the Jimmy Neutron theme. I was also debating whether or not I should draw some atoms in the background, but I did not. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll have a link to my Hot Guy playlist down below if you haven't seen them all, and let me know who you want to see next. I do have a list already, but I'm always adding to the list, and sometimes names get bumped up because I just get really excited about a certain name. So let me know who you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.
And when I emerge, I will be fit, strong, and my sunburn will be gone.